Hey everyone, Ryan here, or M&R Productions, with my review of the 2008 LEGO Star Wars Republic Fighter Tank, given set number 7679 with 592 pieces and 2 minifigs. We'll come back to those in a second, but when this was released in 2008, that's right, all the way back in summer of 2008 is when this came out with that original Clone Wars wave. You can see that defining box art on the top there with that stripe. Looks so good. This one costs just $50, which seems like a steal, and adjusted for inflation, it's only about $65. So I feel like that's right in line with where this would be priced in today's world if LEGO were to release it. However, if you actually want one of these new and sealed box in 2021 or even beyond, very likely, it's going to cost you at least $270, which is what I paid to get this new and sealed box. Now, obviously, you go the route and save money by used, but for me to have the privilege of seeing that tape still sealed, it costs $270. The box art does leave a little bit to be desired, though. I mean, behind the Republic Fighter Tank, it's just desert and a little bit of blue sky. Like, there's just not a lot going on back there, but it doesn't really need to be. It really does drive the focus to just the fighter tank, which is so amazing in this set. You do get the 2 Clone Trooper minifigs, and I do kind of find it interesting that they don't differentiate them as just 2 Clone Troopers, even though they're wearing completely different armor, and they show the captain here, or commander, wearing a visor, but over here he's wearing his rangefinder, and he's also not wearing his leg armor, so definitely interesting to see that on the box, a little bit of discontinuity, but it does show the versatility of that armor that they released in 2008. That was something I definitely did as a kid, was just take the armor off the clones so I could have more regular clones from that 2009 battle pack. It's just the way it was done. The back of the box is where the magic happened. It's where they sold you on the set. You had all the features of the set packed into 6 separate squares or rectangles there, and then because it was 2008 and you didn't have a ton of money, if you're me, you get the one set and then they're like, oh hey, now you want these ones too, and I'm like, but I can't afford those. So yeah, they would definitely try to shove it down your throat. They don't really do other sets on the back of the box anymore. It's something I kind of miss, where they would show other sets from the current lineup and the wave that the set came out in to try and sell you on them. The prospect of being able to unbox this is so exciting. Here we go, 2 tape seals on either end of the box for this one, and inside, hopefully, numbered bags. Oh no. No numbered bags. Darn you, 2008. And it looks like our instruction manual has taken a bit of a beating inside of that box over the years. Kind of tragic, but I will show you the other sets it shows off in the back of the manual. Same sets as it shows on the back of the box, but with a little extra flair here on the final page with the gunship and this very nice kind of poster thing with the 2008 January lineup, or some of that 2008 January lineup there. I mean, they really went all out to try and get you to buy other sets with these older LEGO Star Wars sets. A lot of adverts in the back there. This is our classic 2008 Clone Wars style clone trooper. And the thing about this particular trooper, though, in 2008 is this the first time we were seeing it. I think a lot of us look at this nowadays with rose-tinted goggles, and it is pretty much the best thing that LEGO has ever made. But it does lack a few modern amenities like leg printing. Certainly newer troopers have that, and that's something I feel like this is missing. But there is something to the simplicity of this trooper. At least at the time, they did come with the normal blaster that was updated in 2007, so that was great. You just get regular black hips, which I think look pretty good. I do love the helmet design on this guy. I think it's really sharp looking. It really does match what we see in the Clone Wars. And then removing that helmet, you'll see that Clone Wars face. Now this one gets mixed emotions from a lot of people. I actually quite like this Clone Trooper face. I guess it's not the most accurate thing to what we actually see, but I think it gets the point across, and practically every Clone Trooper that came out during this time period had that face. Basically, they had just phased out using black heads for Clone Troopers because previously they had the hole in it for the visor, but now they had it all filled in and just printed on there, so it worked out much better. And our second minifigure is this nondescript Clone Commander. He just has some gray armor plating on him, which looks rather good. It is removable, so you can take it all off and have him look just like a normal Clone Trooper, if you please, and that's what myself and many other kids, I think at the time, did to increase our regular clone army. He does come with dual-wielding blasters, which look really good in gray there as well. But yeah, love the armor, love the print of everything. It's got the same exact face underneath, obviously. Overall, a really good figure, and it was nice, especially when I, 11 years old when I first got the set or whatever, to have a clone commander just not named like Rex, Cody, or Fox at the time. One of the things I always particularly liked about this set was its size. This thing is massive compared to the scale that it is supposed to be. Now, I find the people that think a lot about minifigure scale to think about it in a pretty selective way. Nonetheless, this thing is bigger than it needed to be, and I think the 2017 model does a fine job of scaling it back, but retaining some features and being more in line with what is technically minifigure scale. But one-to-one minifigure scale is something we almost never see achieved in LEGO sets, so I find talking about it to be quite unnecessary. All that matters is that it plays with minifigs and that the proportions are proper. That's just my 2 cents. You can disagree, but that's the way that I look at my LEGO Star Wars sets. So this thing is fantastic looking. We'll get into the features that use the minifigs in a minute. It does have some flaws with the stickers. You're going to end up with some gaps here, and that's just something you can try to minimize with good and smart placement by thinking about what you're doing before you do it there. But no matter what, you're going to end up with small white gaps that are going to look a little bit awkward. The stickers do have a nice design, but they do have clear bits on it. Instead of it being in white here, it's actually clear. You might be able to see some of the air bubbles there, and that's something that I find to not be so good. Now, the set does have some storage compartments in a couple different places. You can actually lift them up on either side of the set here, and in one side you will find a weapon. This side is currently empty. I believe the other side is going to have our weapon here. You can open that up, and there's a blaster for your clone trooper. So it's nice to have that included. It's a really smart area to have storage in because it's just otherwise going to be completely unused space on the side of the Republic fighter tank. As we move back, we actually have some neon green, which I think combines well with the green that we see there and just adds a bit of flair to the ship, which is otherwise just red and white. Moving back a bit further, we have another pretty cool feature with this, and this is your missile launcher, which when you flip over, will reveal 3 flick fire missiles on the side of the Republic fighter tank. And flick fire missiles can be frustrating, most certainly. You do have a printed ventilation piece here, which is good. You can just push on these, but they're not going to go very far. Like, why would you do that? I think they just look cool, like when you pop them out and you can pretend they're just cannons. You don't even have to flick them. But if you do want to use them as flick fire missiles, you can do so. And yeah, it flicked all the way over to a box there. They actually can flick pretty far if you hit them right, but they are just frustrating as all get out. That's all the way back here. Yeah, it actually made it pretty far, so it works well. You can see what it looks like here with both cannons open on either side, and all you have to do is just flip them back down and into the ship. I love how this feature is basically completely hidden until you actually put it into use. It's such a smartly hidden feature, and it's right up underneath the ship. So if you do lift it up, you'll see it. Obviously, it's not completely hidden when you lift it up, but from the top of the vehicle, you're just not going to be able to tell it's there, and I love that. It's a great way to hide something that people generally don't like seeing outward facing on their Star Wars ships. Now, as a more comprehensive overview of the underside of the Republic fighter tank, it's pretty bland. It doesn't do much, and it doesn't have to. It really just has these wheels underneath, which are what lift it above the ground, make it look like it's hovering, which is great, because that's what it does in universe. And so these wheels are actually a pretty smooth ride. I always really liked them when I played with it as a kid, and you can see it's pretty low friction, so you don't have to worry about that. They're not rubber, they're just plastic, so pretty low friction. We do have our main cannons on the Republic fighter tank on the left and the right here, and they can actually be placed 90 degrees straight up in the air if you'd like, so that's just a different way you can have them. You can definitely move them up and down to shoot at different objects in the sky if you have some separatist fighter droids flying by or whatever. It is really nice to have that bit of functionality, and even though I don't think it's intended, these can twist 360 degrees. It doesn't look particularly great when they get caught out of like a straight spot, so I do try to keep them completely vertical because I think that's where they're supposed to be and where they look the best. But yeah, I think these cannons overall look really good, and they actually do have a small Technic piece in there, if we get a good view of it, which stops it from going below this piece here. So you can see it. It's got a hard stop there so that you can't make it point any farther down, which is good because you don't want it to point at itself, and plus it makes it very easy to get them to be flat for your display where you won't be completely looking at it weirdly when it's pointing like this. You know, it helps. That brings us to the main body of the Republic fighter tank here. We've got a sticker up front, which adds a nice bit of detail, along with some printed Republic logos. Those look great. And you might have noticed there's a hinge piece there, and that's because you can actually lift this entire bit up here. It's kind of hard to get a grip. And when it's lifted up, you'll actually find more ammunition inside. I'm not actually sure what these are supposed to be because they look like they're replacements for these on the side, but I'm not 100% sure what those on the side do other than that they look cool aesthetically. I'm sure there's an answer in the comments, but it's probably the one thing I don't really know about this Lego set. Above all that, you'll find some translucent clear bricks, which allow you to see into the compartment in the ship where the pilot can go. Unfortunately, it's pretty dark and you can't really see through there, but it does give the fighter tank somewhat of a face. It gives it some eyes there. And then above that is this very nice turret on top with 2 cannons. Now, it is really good. It can spin practically 360 degrees here, especially when you have this top hatch open, and can move up and down with a 90-degree range of motion. The downside to this particular part that I've had over my years of playing with this particular ship is that these pieces tend to fall off very frustratingly easily. However, they are not the most frustrating pieces on this set that fall off. There's actually 2 more frustrating pieces at the back with the antenna pieces. Boy, oh boy, do they pop off all the time for me. There's something that I think a lot of kids must have lost back in the day playing with this particular ship. So as much as I like them, I find them incredibly frustrating. So finally, we get to the top hatch, and that is something you can actually open, which looks great when it's open. And then inside of there, you'll actually find a seat along with a control panel. And so you can take one of your clone troopers, we'll have to take his weapon off, and you'll sit him or stand him in that seat. I prefer to stand him in here, specifically because when he's standing, he just looks like he's in the proper position there. There's a bit of give to him, and I'll show you in a minute why that is. There's a bit of a mechanism down there for the chair. It's not just a chair that is stationary, which is pretty cool. But yeah, he basically commands the turret up here, and it works out pretty well. I like that. Looking to the back, we have this entryway for your clone troopers to get in and out. You can drop this down. I do want to say real quick, it is at a bit of an angle. It's not completely straight, so you can see there, it's slightly tilted back. That's just the way that it's built, and I think it actually turns out looking pretty good like that. But you can drop this down, and you can have your clone troopers walking in and out of the fighter tank here. The entrance is just big enough to fit the clone troopers through, which is nice, although that chair is going to completely block your entry. I swapped the clone trooper into a seated position to show you this, but what you'll notice is this big red piece here, it's not there for nothing. You can pull down on it, or you can push down on the clone trooper from above. I think that's a bit easier. And you'll see this piece here is basically going to hook above that and stop it from going back up, and therefore the clone trooper can now be enclosed inside of the fighter tank and not manning the turret. And then when you want him to be manning the turret, you open that up, you pull back on that, and he pops right up. Very awesome feature, but that's not everything. No, this set just keeps giving. For 50 bucks, it is sure packed full of features. You can actually take this entire top panel off, and our clone trooper may want to be trying to jump out of there too, but there's actually more inside. You see, the Republic fighter tank isn't just manned by 1 clone trooper, it's manned by 2 clone troopers, man down by the way, but we have an open seat in there for our clone commander, and there's actually a couple control panels, which is rather nice. Printed control panels just hidden up inside of that Republic fighter tank, and you can actually get an idea of what it may look like to view from inside of the fighter tank with that glass. But yeah, it actually works out very well, very spacious. The problem really arises if you want to sit this guy in there, you actually got to take his bottom gear off of him because he can't bend his legs to sit down otherwise, and he's got to be sitting to be in here. So with the clones out of the way, you can see it's just connected by a couple stud pieces on the left and the right, and then a 1x2 dark red plate at the front. So you push it down, push them down in the back, and you are gonna be set to go. Oh, I suppose I just noticed one of my other things I didn't like about this set from back in the day. Like I said, it's overall an amazing set, but what would happen is because the cheese slope here and these 2 cheese slopes are on different pieces, they wouldn't always line up perfectly, and you would have to try to wiggle everything back to being in line if you were OCD. I mean, it's certainly passable. It's a unfortunate flaw of a great feature. You just can't get around it. This is easily a top tier Lego Star Wars set for me from 2008. It shows how great Lego Star Wars can be. And like I said up front, some people might not love how big this thing is. There's another option for you from from 2017 that came out in a much smaller package. I didn't love this one because it was so small. It has certainly grown on me, but man, there's just something about how cool this thing is with the size and the features that it packed in. The only thing it's really lacking in is that minifigure department. While it does include the proper number of clones to man the fighter tank, you always just want a little bit more, don't you? For 50 bucks back in the day, this thing was a steal. Obviously nowadays, new in box, it's going to cost you a pretty penny, but if you were thinking about buying it, I would wholeheartedly recommend it if you can afford it. Let me know what you guys think about this one in the comments section below. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed this review, and you can check out more 2008 LEGO Star Wars reviews on the end screen now.